It's a difficult question to ask, put so generally. How do you handle devotees who have done something wrong? It depends on what they've done wrong. There may be legal consequences because we are a preaching mission that's operating within the material world. At the same time, we have to bear in mind the spiritual ramifications. As you pointed out, apichet siddharacharo, bhajane mamananiva. So it's a difficult question to answer generally. We should, as I think is behind your question, we should be very careful. But this juggling the material pragmatics with the spiritual realities is difficult. And therefore discretion and caution must be brought to bear. Because we are a spiritual society operating in the material world. So that's as best I can answer a general question. We do have to be careful. Especially if the devotee who did something wrong, and I don't know what you mean by wrong, but if there was the intent to serve Krishna, we have to recognize that as one factor, as in fact, as the most salient factor, but that doesn't cancel out the other factors. But the intent to serve Krishna is so important. And that's what apichet siddharacharo bhajane mamananiva is dealing with, the intent to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If that's there, though there may be some faults, still you have to recognize that intent, which is the topmost consideration spiritually, but it doesn't knock out all the other considerations. So how to balance the two is very difficult. Would you like to further comment?
Thank you, Maharaj. I think that intent is a really important part of the equation, and if the intent is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there's some mistake or there's some temporary slip, then we can apply the apichet siddharachara principle. But if the intent is for personal satisfaction, personal sense gratification, or even if it's illegal, then it might have a different, we'll be stretching, maybe stretching the apichet siddharachara.
Prabhupada was speaking about the verse in Bhagavad Gita, which is a difficult verse to grasp fully. Apichet siddharacharo bhajane mamananiva. Even if a saintly person does something wrong, still this person is considered saintly. Yes, the intent to please Supreme Personality of Godhead is salient, but it doesn't cancel out the other factors, because we are a spiritual movement operating in the material world. Legally, sometimes there's a clash between serving Krishna and what is legal. We do try to do everything legal, but I'll give you my own example. I broke the law by smuggling Bhagavad Gita into communist countries. So, how is that to be judged? It was completely illegal. I've smuggled persons out of communist countries. Some of them consider that a crime known as kidnapping. If you help someone, for example, in the former East Germany, if you would help such a person to escape that country, you were considered a kidnapper. 20-year prison sentence if you were caught. So sometimes the mundane laws clash with Krishna's service, but that takes some expertise to understand. You can't apply that principle haphazardly. Just look at what happened when Ashwatthama was apprehended by the Pandavas. The deliberation went this way, that way, this way, that way, right? Showing you this is no small thing. But also understand, Krishna was personally there. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna was personally there. Saying, do this, do that. Don't worry about this rule, don't worry about that rule. But we cannot just automatically say, Krishna's right here with me, he's telling me do this, he's telling me do that. Just like with the book distribution in the former communist countries. Prabhupada himself said, just get these books in there. How you do it, black market, white market, red market, just let Bhagavad Gita enter these countries and communism is finished. So that's what we did. White market, red market, black market. He said, let the black market people keep the money. Don't worry, just let the books go in. So we need to be careful about applying that verse, Apichat-Sudara-Acharya. And it's actually not a verse for neophyte devotees. It's for advanced devotees who, due to acting in the material world, may encounter some they may enact some discrepancy due to remnants of past conditioning or just the way the world is. So this is a verse, as Prabhupada explained himself, for advanced devotees, not for neophytes. You have to have gained Krishna's attention, so to speak. Sadhureva samandavya. You actually have to be a sadhu. And then, because we recognize the nature of the material world, that it's a very complicated, compromising place, and there's also past conditioning that may just jump out of nowhere. For example, I'm glad you brought this point up. Srila Prabhupada explained that Ajamil was an accidental fall-down case. Did you know that? The whole train wreck of his life started because he saw a scene which these days would be considered child's play. He tried to fight it off, but he succumbed. So I personally heard Srila Prabhupada explain that Ajamil's fall down was actually accidental. And so the devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, who was hearing this, well then, how do we know when a devotee's fall down is accidental or not? And Srila Prabhupada said very softly, I had to turn the volume up all the way to hear it. He said, only I can tell. I take that to mean only an extremely advanced devotee can tell the inclination, the motive. Well, certainly not the little devotees, the young devotees of 50 years ago in their beginnings of bhakti. That was 50 years ago. Now we have veteran brahmanas like Prana Prabhu who can deliberate on such situations. One last question. Yes?
This whole Ajamila pastime started with the note of atonement, so in that regard, as a neophyte devotee, how do we keep ourselves motivated? Because we are trying to practice, but we make mistakes, and we are trying to
this cycle is running, so how to keep up that enthusiasm?
Yes, it can be very frustrating when we light a fire and then pour water on it, and then light it again and pour water on it. It's difficult because the wood is damp. So we need good association to inspire us that going to a higher level is possible. Without good association, we just start to think, well, the way I am is normal. Everyone's like this. Everyone does like this. But in elevated association, we can see a higher plane, a higher level, and we become motivated. Let me rise to that level. So we keep trying. That's why initiation vows are very important. We can use them as a source of strength. So always seek out the association of inspiring devotees. And then you'll be protected from your mind victimizing you that, oh, this is just normal anyway, everyone does like this. Or there's no other way. You can't really, there is another way, but we can't do it. It's not in this lifetime. So let us remember Yamaraja delineating, demarcating, telling his assistants, you go for these persons, you don't go for those persons. And let us remember that even when Krishna appears as Lord Varahadev, still his body is completely spiritual. He does not assume a form made of the material energy. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.